Hello everyone and welcome to Family Home Evening. I have a memory from when I was 11 or 12, sitting in church when a new convert got up to give a talk. I don't even remember if the person was a man or a woman, only that they had recently joined the church. In their talk, they described the questions they had, the way they studied and prayed, and the experiences they had that led them to join the church. But the memory I have, that's still clear today, is the feeling of jealousy that they were not born into the church. I wished I hadn't started out here so I could have that kind of spiritual growth. I knew I should probably be more grateful for the blessings I did have as a lifelong member of the church, and I suspected that the new member high would eventually wear off, and even that excited, passionate person would feel like church had gotten dull. But I thought that maybe I just have it too easy. Maybe if I had to work for the gospel, I could have an active, vibrant testimony like that convert. If I hadn't grown up in the church, I would have to really try to find out if it's true or not, and in trying, I might really find out. So I was a little disappointed that I had grown up in the church. Of course, the years of being in primary had given me a fantastic foundation in the gospel, and I knew that should give me some sort of advantage. Starting off with a testimony should make it easier to have a strong testimony, right? So how could I have as strong a testimony as this recent convert had? How to gain a testimony is a frequent topic in the church, but the hardest question, I think, is how can I strengthen the testimony I already have? Most people assume that the way to strengthen a testimony is the same as how to gain one, so the most common answers we give are to read the scriptures and pray more. And of course, those aren't bad suggestions. Those are definitely necessary. If that's how you got your testimony in the first place, it stands to reason that continuing those practices will help you develop your testimony. But it also stands to reason that continuing what you are already doing is not a good way to get stronger. But what else is there? How can you reasonably improve something you're already doing the best you know how? This is a challenging enough question for those who already have developed testimonies and a long history in the church. But for those who are less stable in the gospel, it grows from frustrating to frightening. But here's the thing, in many ways the group that is best equipped to address and answer these questions is an unlikely one. Those who struggle. A lot of times when we hear that someone is struggling, we assume that something is wrong. Their testimony might be cracking, or maybe some problem is keeping them from being strong in the gospel, as though there was some level that good members of the church should be at. If you're anywhere above the line, you're okay, but if you're below it, you're at risk. You're struggling. This is a harmful assumption for several reasons, not least of which is that it tends to ostracize those who don't conform to our social norms. But it also hamstrings those of us who consider ourselves good members. I'll talk more about this next week, but if we're judging ourselves and others on a pass-fail basis, once we're passing, we don't really have to try any harder. So we stop trying harder. Struggling is a deeply undervalued skill. Jesus Christ taught that heaven rejoices for those who struggle more than those who need no repentance. I've met some people who never put much effort into finding out if the church is true until they started to doubt it. But in their desperate wrestle with the Spirit, they found God in a more powerful, personal, and lasting way than they ever did by just being active in the church. Or whenever we hear a faith-promoting story, odds are it'll be about the mission or about something that happened while they were trying hard to fulfill a difficult calling, or when some kind of a challenging life event happened, when a hard question came up and they didn't know what to do. They struggle. And that's when they learn, grow, receive revelation. The times when we don't know where the path is are usually the times we try hardest to find it. We are closest to heaven when we are actively trying to be. That's what my 11-year-old self vaguely grasped when I wished I was a convert. The new member who spoke in that sacrament meeting had to struggle to gain the testimony he had, and I realized that in order to have a burning conviction like his, I needed to learn how to struggle like that too. Growing and strengthening your testimony isn't about not failing, it's about moving forward from where you are. It's not about finding or earning spiritual upgrades. It's about becoming more like God. Thanks for joining me for Family Home Evening. I hope you appreciated that story from when I was a kid. I was only 11 or 12 years old when I began to understand that principle. And I'd like to hear from you guys. What was the earliest experience you had when you realized something about the gospel that you hadn't thought of before? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. But thanks for watching, and have a great week.